turn my audio up, and I will turn y'all's audio up, and we will come right here. Greetings and salutations, travelers. Welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads, and welcome to Around the Hearth, our series where we just get together and chat about certain things. We've finished, like last time, we finished the monster CRs and stuff like that for Pathfinder First Edition, and it was it's kind of fun. It's kind of nice to get to that point and do that. But announcements before we jump into anything. This is an adult podcast where sometimes certain of the adults use adult language. You have been warned. We usually keep ourselves around PG-13.
Thanks, Dad.
The Pathfather has spoken. We have Patreon going for both the Inn of Planar Crossroads and Black Dragon Gaming, of which Tommy is joining us today. Both of the Patreons are going and ready, and you can check those out for your viewing pleasure and for which one you would like to support. Tommy has a giveaway going for his, which we will let him announce in just a minute. And we also have a giveaway that we're giving away for ours, and we will let you know about that when probably next time. But let's go ahead and let Tommy announce his stuff.
Tommy does have a lot of things going on at Black Dragon Gaming. It keeps, like, the growth does this and this and this and this over, like, the weeks. And so we get to do more and more super cool things. Today is the last day of April, so you guys have just shy of a weekish. The 9th of May is when our entries for the Pathfinder First Edition send-off tournament, where I'll need 16 players. I've seen some of the character sheets. I've had some people send me like, hey, do you think this is good? And I have to be not biased because I know what everybody's building. Like, what would you change about it? It's good. But regardless, I need 16 people to come kill your friends for a little bit of blood sport in the name of Paizo Productions. And since we got our patronage up to over $150 a month, thanks to the generosity of viewers like you, because we say that at IOPC now, we will be running Doomsday Dawn, the Pathfinder 2nd Edition playtest adventure, which I'm super stoked for. I need 6 guys to come run through that with me. That giveaway will end a month before the content drops on the 2nd of July. So you've got all the time in the world to enter that one. But patronage at any tier will give you an extra entry in the giveaway. And if we can get patronage up a little higher over at the channel, hey, maybe I can run 2 adventuring parties through Doomsday Dawn. But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about, what are we talking about today, Adam? I forget. 2nd edition stuff, right?
Right. We're talking about our general impressions for 2nd edition, our general impressions and our likes, our hates, and our concerns. At least with the content we've been presented so far. And we kind of wanted to touch on it because I think everybody that's here likes the idea of 2nd edition coming out kind of soon. So, let me see. Oh, that's what we're talking about today. Finishing up the announcements. Next subscriber appreciation one-shot is about 25 subscribers away. It's going to be at 200, and we are going to be letting Colin run a game if he's up to it. And it looks like a lot of fun, so it should be good. This month's monthly giveaway, this is we're recording this on the last day of it, so I actually need to announce next month, May's giveaway. So May's giveaway is...
I think it might be a dice mug, if your son was correct.
Yeah, he was.
A dice mug?
Yeah, they were talking about that on, yep, there it is.
Oh, a mug. I heard bug, and I was expecting something very different.
Some creepy looking, like, spider D20 thing.
You keep it as a pet. Bring it out to the table. It rolls itself.
Yeah, right. But that's what we're
Don't
going
feed
to
it
be
after
doing.
midnight.
Nope.
So that's the plan for May, and I thought it was a good pickup. I got it at GameStop if you want to know where I got it. Um, I think that's everything.
Nice. You spend a lot of time at GameStop, don't you?
Well, we go there while we
Probably.
get Papa Murphy's, so we go there while the pizza's getting made, and then we get the pizza after we're done browsing at GameStop.
Ah.
So just kind of right in the same area.
Fair enough.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. So, we're going to talk about first the things that we're liking so far from second edition. So, Tommy's got the most experience with this one. So, why don't we let Tommy start us off, and Kane and I can kind of chime in if we like something else that he doesn't mention, or so on and so forth.
Fair enough. So the things I like about second edition, I think I just have to say just yes for the most part so far. I like that at the risk of sounding really cocky, I like that a lot of the things that myself and truly I think a lot of the things that like Pathfinders in all of Pathfinder land have like made house rules have become rules as written. I really like that now, like if a weapon is finessable, it's automatically finessable. You don't have to like take a feat for that. Natural 20s are amazing. Natural ones are amazingly bad. All this kind of stuff. It just like there is a part of me that thinks that the 4 degrees of success in such a way that like the natural 20 is amazing and the natural one is amazingly bad will be house ruled out in a lot of groups, because a lot of people you see in forums when somebody like brings up like, what happens if on that 20 my climb check, and everyone's nothing, it doesn't count, you probably climbed it though. I think a lot of people are gonna like shoot that one in the head, but me personally I think that's great, and I really like that it's coming into the fore. I don't like that, well, I like it, we're skipping ahead, but I don't like that like spellcasters are getting not a nerf, I'll say, but the 4 degrees of success makes like hold person a little bit weaker, but I like it because I prefer the melee guys, or at least like the 2/3 casters, like your hunters, your inquisitors, your magi, blase. And it always felt bad to not have like hold person dot character following behind to just like make the coup de grace set up. Because I mean, like if you guys over at the channel watch A House Divided, that's essentially how we survived session 2 was somebody with color spray. That session was rough. That session was 4 hours of us being terrible.
A lot of us missing ACs by 2 points or 1 point. Or
oh god! Yeah, when the gunslinger can't get the Cyclops' touch,
Oof.
That's how bad. That's how bad our time is going. That's second bad. Edition, I like. Weapons in second edition are really exciting. They're all getting these humongous overhauls, and I think it's really cool that like everything will do something different. Like great clubs have a bonus to hit if you miss the first attack, which is weird, but I like it. Glaives are nuts. I have that tab open. What is that called? The trait that the glaive has. Deadly. That's what. No, Deadly's the crit one. Forceful is the one that's like if you hit the first time it's a D8, hit the second time it's 2D8, and that just keeps like. That's a lot of dice thrown around at level 1. You assume anyway, unless like glaives are impossible to get like your hands on at first level, and I guess I could see why.
I quite enjoy glaives.
Because you're not dealing with iteratives anymore. It would just be like an action to attack, an action to attack, an action to attack.
And just dice get thrown at the table real hard and everybody's dead.
I do like, well, I think it's good. It's really good that they're overhauling a lot of the weapons, especially with like kind of weird stuff, like the bonus to attack after a miss with the Great Club, because I don't think I've ever seen anyone build a character who uses a Great Club, even though it would probably be pretty prevalent in a lot of, like, I can think of a lot of different reasons why you'd pick up like a baseball bat with a nail driven through it to beat up monsters. I mean, it's not a great sword, but it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't. I had an archer once, and I guess I still do. That game just kind of like, it went to a house divided, and his melee weapon was a great club. And I imagine the weapons with backswing will be like if you're not good at melee, like if you're the wizard, you're the sorcerer, it's weird, but you take not the quarterstaff, you take the great club for when you have to get cornered in melee and you have to with your great club to try to hit. You'll
So
probably
these
miss the first one, but if
spellcasters
you have a bonus to hit
are-
on the backswing.
They're walking around with this little spellcaster with his,
Caveman!
with his big, huge, great club, and they're like, "Oh goodness!" And then they get out the great club to put away their book, and it just looks super weird.
It's a family heirloom. He's actually got stone giant blood in him, but he's really tiny.
Stone giant blooded sorcerer.
Yeah.
The family heirloom. This tree branch I've just picked up.
It's the whole tree.
Yeah.
I do wonder.
Really, honestly, I like everything I've seen so far.
Yep, it does make me wonder if they're
what is
going
it?
to do strength requirements or certain requirements to wield certain things and such. I think they will with legendary and really good equipment, but even with other equipment, I'm not sure.
Maybe, but so they're switching over to like the proficiency system, right? Kind of like what Fifth does with the scaling bonuses.
Mm.
So, I mean, theoretically, your casters could enter melee. I mean, obviously, they're not going to be as good at it as your melee characters, but they'll have, if they're using a finesse weapon, a like theoretically comparable to hit bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, the disparity probably between like Johnny the fighter and Billy the sorcerer. Billy's can be a little better off in melee when he runs out of spell slots and he has to go in there with his his great club, because if they're doing scaling proficiency instead of scaling bab, the disparity, like, it's not like this like it is in first edition. It's more like this, where like the fighter will be a little better.
Well, the fighter will be better because he'll get like he'll have all those extra feats and like the class abilities that just make him better at whomping on dudes.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely does something to simplify the math down, and you don't have to like. There exists this less visible disparity where like we're 10th level and the fighter has a plus 20 to hit and the wizard has a plus 3.
That is true.
You know, because he's got a strength of 6.
Emmy.
I do like the
Strength of 5, even worse.
Well,
I do like the how they've simplified the actions. I think we touched on that. The degrees of success are things that I like because of how, like we're talking about, degrees of success means, including to how criticals work. I actually like that criticals work that way. That if you miss by a certain amount or if you succeed by a certain amount, it's going to make a difference. That somebody who's really speccing into the idea of hitting those ACs, like your fighters and stuff like that, they are going to crit more often simply because they're really focusing on that. They're focusing on those hits like that. Spells can be crit failed or crit saved. I like those too. Kind of different than Tommy. I don't necessarily see it as a nerf. I see it as in the same way that a fighter's going to up his to hit, a spellcaster is going to up his DCs on his saves. So you have that disparity isn't necessarily there in those degrees of success. And I like spell degrees too. How action has been simplified and how it plays into spells. Because I do like to have, spells on characters most of the time. And that means that you can spend one action to do something that's actually worthwhile doing while still moving and still maybe attacking. It'll probably make a Magus build a lot easier to do without having to have a specifically dedicated Magus class. A dip into fighter and a dip into wizard, all of a sudden you've got a lot of possibilities, or even just a dip into sorcerer or cleric. Your warrior, your war priest doesn't necessarily have to be there as hard or as much in this first playtest, because you're going to see how it's going to play simply by doing a little multi-class. It'll make a lot of difference. I think it'll make it'll make actions fun. It'll make things fun because you're only worrying about 5 actions in combat. If I'm remembering right, there's your 3 actions you usually get, unless something changes through the levels, which we don't know yet. Then there's your there's a reaction and an immediate action, and that's just 5. That means you can do 3 things, and you have basically your AOO if you want to spend it, your reaction, and an immediate action, I think, and that's it. Whereas in Pathfinder, you could have in Pathfinder 1E.
Well, we have free actions as well too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I count free actions because most of the time people just use that to talk to each other. So there is that.
No, I mean like there were spells in the deity videos that like this spell is a free action and the trigger is like when this happens, you can cast this as a free action, not a reaction.
Yeah, I can't remember what the spell is that you used as an example, but it's probably gonna show up with spells like Featherfall, where casting is a free action, but only while falling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of trigger stuff.
I think it was called like Tempt Fate or something.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it might be more like triggers than actual actions for the.
I gotta say that's another thing I like too. Another thing I really like in this system is clerics and all of the crazy stuff they're getting. Like in first edition, you hand me a cleric, I'll play it, I guess, if that's what's going on. But it's never been, despite the power of the class, I've never really like sought out or felt the urge to play a cleric. But now, like in a flavor sense and in a mechanical sense, based on their deity, they're a lot more powerful. For example, like, and this is a little speculation, but the cleric of Erastil, he no longer has to go grab the ranger to do the survival checks. Probably, I assume that's the skill for the cleric of Erastil, is survival. He can track the stuff in the woods just as well. He can probably attack with that bow just as well. And the way deities are changing in such a way that, like, it's not like Shelyn is neutral good and you can be lawful good, neutral good, or chaotic good. In second edition, they've cut out neutral and they've said you can have gods that, like, the example was lawful good, chaotic good, lawful evil, neutral, or chaotic evil could be that god's worshippers. That's crazy, and I really like it.
Wow. I have my own opinions about alignment and how it would work. If we make alignment tied to actual mechanics in the game and not just role play in the game, I'd probably prefer it if it was more like if there was some kind of mechanical scale for it. Like, you had certain ticks that go a certain way. You had 2 bars, good and evil. Good and evil on each side of one, and then lawful and lawful and chaotic on either side of the other. And depending on your actions, you would go certain ways on each. And it would still be GM discretion, I would think. But at least there'd be a way to kind of track which way you were going. But that would then again bring its own rules, its own problems in on the thing. So I don't know that there's really, with the way people like to play with alignment, there's not really a way you can do it and satisfy everybody. So simply tying it to story or RP is probably the best way to do it, in my opinion. And just either get rid of it, or which I don't really like the idea of, or put something mechanical in there to at least give the number crunchers something to crunch. Otherwise, you're always going to end up with those debates. Well, my paladin wants to do this, or my cleric wants to do this, but it's an evil act. So it's supposed to be an evil act, but do they know it's an evil act? If they do, how does that work? And and you have to have spells like atonement for things that really they couldn't have had any, like a player not knowing the knowledge of what was going to be done, like a paladin accidentally helping the bad guy, the big bad of the campaign, and having to deal with that. Well, should they really have to atone for that when they didn't know, type thing? So.
Well, no, and they say sort of as much in the book, don't they? That it has to be like, if you're going to commit evil, it has to be evil you commit like willfully, knowingly.
Sometimes they do, and then sometimes you get the idea that they might not think that. So it's kind of up in the air. But
And of course, then you have the GM that's just really vindictive about every step your paladin takes.
right.
Oh, 3.5.
Oh, 3.5.
Yeah. But yeah, you guys got anything else on likes? So Tommy likes.
I
the
don't know
whole
how
thing.
I feel about they're calling it attunement
Oh yeah, we can go to concerns now.
in second edition, aren't they?
Yeah, we can go
Resonance.
to concerns
Resonance
now.
is what they're calling it.
I'm not sure how I feel about resonance. With the way it's worded, it sounds like there are a bunch of magic items that are going to take up resonance, which is fine, but I don't like that it's tied to charisma. So, like, your sorcerer's going to end up with way more magic item points than, like, anyone else, or your bard's going to end up with way more magic item points than anyone else. And, like, I know that we're getting rid of the main 6, so I don't know how many magic items your typical character is going to be carrying around. But if you have a character like if you take like your fighter or your barbarian who has a really crappy charisma, and they need, like magic armor and a magic weapon and a whatever, how much of that are they going to be able to actually keep on their person? Is that going to inform the meta that you have to maintain a certain balance with your charisma, or you're going to lose out in the long run with magic items, or
No more dumping charisma to 7.
right?
Yeah.
Well, it is resonance is charisma plus level. So eventually, like as you catch up, the disparity between the bard and the sorcerer and the barbarian will level out for sure. But also, it's like the weapons that we've seen today are really, really good, not magical at all whatsoever. And that's not just in terms of I'm going to throw 25 d8 at the GM's face at level 1. It's also I can raise my AC. It's also I can I disarm when I hit you, stuff like that. So I agree. Resonance it's kind of scary, I guess, because in Pathfinder First Edition, the big 6, it's iconic. If you don't have them, you are dead. So it feels like moving into this new world where I can't have them, and however will I survive? But if we don't need them, I say so much the better, because there's so many other dumb little magical toys in the back of the Ultimate Mega Magic Equipment Folio Volume 2 that they're fun and they're good, but you never get to use them because you're spending your gold on all these other things.
Right? Or
Yeah.
even just magic items that are in the core rule book that you've never heard of before because they're not on the list.
Yeah.
We had years and years and years ago, I played a game where we somehow got a hold of an orb of weather control. I don't know if you've ever played with one of those.
No clue.
It's basically once a week you cast as a 20th level druid.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
Sounds real good.
yeah.
It was real gnarly, especially if you have to spend a couple months on a boat.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I'm liking.
But it was exorbitantly expensive, and it's certainly not one of the main 6, and it was really neat to have. I think he took it away from us eventually because we were being dicks with it, but it was still
What?
for however long
No.
we got to keep it, it was
You and Mal
definitely
making
fun.
you and Mal had
Yeah,
a mischief
another
over
good
a
example.
weather controlling item. No, that never happened.
no, that would me and Malcolm and William definitely didn't give Connor a real hard time with an orb of weather control.
Another fun item like that is the cubic gate, and I didn't know what it was until somebody found it on a random item table. Essentially, it's just it's a cube, and each side of that cube is tied to a different plane, and like this will take you to Elysium, up here will take you to Hell, and this is the Abyss, and blase all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, so you just it's like
I mean-
you had such sight.
And that's an item that we don't buy because cloak resistance.
Yeah.
We
Well,
have such sights to show you.
Yes. I'm also concerned about resonance simply because I don't like the way attunement works in 5e. I like the idea of resonance and attunement. I like the idea for that, and I think they're going to reserve it for things that are considered stronger, because it kind of makes it sound like everybody has a pool of resonance. At least that's how I'm understanding it so far. And then you spend resonance to use it. So you could technically have a bunch of items on you, but you have to spend resonance to activate them. So you're spending your own magical essence within you, or your own spiritual energy, or however you want to flavor that, to activate this item. The magic lies within the person, and the item simply acts as a conduit for it. So if that's the case, it's not a big deal, because I think you can, if you can have like 3 different cloaks, or like a cloak, a belt, and a this and a that, all of which might help you in certain different situations, and you only have to activate them when they come up, or when you're prepping for a battle that's about to happen, or something like that, then it's not as big a deal. But if you have to have it active all the time and have spent that already at the start of the day type thing, then then everybody that's supposedly racking up these things is having to think like a wizard. What am I going to use today? Which doesn't RP well, for one thing, for your barbarian that you dumped intelligence on to be worrying about what's about to happen. He's more concerned about what he's going to do with his great axe, which I hope they make useful and not just a second cousin of the greatsword. But that will depend on the traits that it gets.
Well, your 7 intelligence barbarian probably also doesn't own, 3 different cloaks, one of which he only wears on Sundays. He's probably got like 5 things that he has on his person all the time because they've proven reliable thus far.
Well, you never know. He gets stuff.
On the subject of 7 intelligence, I feel like that won't be possible.
Yeah.
I think that I think character creation is going to be like Starfinder.
Yeah,
so like you can't dump. Well, you can dump below 10, but there's no mechanical reason to do so.
You're just not going to get anything out of it.
Yeah, which is something. If Paizo's listening, don't do that, please.
Like, you won't see dumb barbarians.
Yeah, if Paizo's listening, I understand why you would do
yeah,
that.
don't know bad.
I understand why you would take that cue from Starfinder, or rather, Starfinder may have taken it from you. Really, it's a 5e thing, and it's one of the things that I definitely do not like about 5e, is that character customization. Yeah, sure, they tell you that the point system is an optional rule, but if it's optional, that means that most GMs are going to be like, oh, well, that's the optional rule, we're going to use this. And sure, there's the standard array that most tables know about: 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. But if 8's part of that, why would you do it? Why would you bother? If you're only going to have it like Starfinder... Yeah, if you're not going to get
points back for it.
Yeah. Well, part of the fun of listening, or not necessarily the fun, but the danger of having a character with a low stat is you know that stat's low. You did it on purpose. Sometimes you're doing that to give them a flaw, because otherwise they may not have one. I mean, it gives people that have a harder time RPing different situations a excuse to RP that way. Like, I don't think Necross would behave the way he does if he didn't have a horrible charisma. He would just behave normally. Tommy couldn't be...
I'm not trying to be an asshole all over your Rise of the Runelords game.
Yeah, Tommy wouldn't be able to RP him as a cultureless, abrasive jerk that is also lovable and midwifed and has grown over the campaign, even in the short time that he's known these people.
He delivered my baby.
He did. It was weird. I did not expect that.
Oh yeah, well I didn't expect.
But hey, that's part of Pathfinder, right?
Yeah, that's great stuff that happens. It is definitely something that I will always remember.
Yeah.
Something I'm hoping they do right. I am concerned. Just to kind of list them off, I am concerned that rogues seem to be fairly unchanged from their previous iterations. Though I do like that they get dirty trick type stuff. For just like at the start of the game, rogues are doing dirty tricks because that makes sense a lot for a rogue. I'm concerned about rituals and how long they'll take. Magical rituals and how long they'll take, as well as crafting and how long it will take. Those are things.
Because
that
right
I'm
now,
worried about.
especially mundane crafting, takes way too long.
Yeah. I bet they'll have simplified it though. I bet it'll be like over the course of a day or 2 days or something like that. So it can be, because it's so much better in second edition to have like Gideon the blacksmith. Now he's just like, he'll make some armor for himself. In second edition, he's going to give you like a cleaving, deadly, disarming, agile. I don't remember all the traits, but there's so many of them, and you can't have them without the blacksmith.
So how do the tiers between like expert, master, and legendary equipment work?
There's
on it, hang on.
poor.
Poor is the low tier, and that's like a -1 to hit. Then it's I'm trying to find it. After poor, it's standard, which is a 0, you assume, and then expert is +1, master is +2, and then legendary is +3.
And that's just like a +3 to hit.
I think it's attack and damage both.
Okay.
Yeah, it's both from
And
what
that's
I'm
just like a
understanding.
purely like mundane mechanical advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Skyrim crafting.
So, well, hopefully it doesn't
Which
go
is
the
sweet.
way
I
of
love Skyrim.
Skyrim crafting, because then you make the pot, you make the potion of blacksmithing, then you drink the potion of blacksmithing and make something that increases your blacksmithing, that increases your alchemy level, and then you make something with wearing the alchemy thing while you're making your potion of improved blacksmithing, and then you just keep repeating that over and over again. That would not be something that I want to see in Pathfinder. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there.
You got to go find that book. I don't remember the name of that book. But you all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The Ogma Infinitum, where you could
Yeah.
abuse it to have 100 and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you could just go talk to the NPC in the first town and get your archery all the way up to 100.
Good old Feindal.
Yep. Oh,
Or we'll have Gideon will stop taking commissions and he'll just make iron knives for 7 hours.
Yeah.
that's
And
what
then
he
suddenly
does.
he's spitting out like dragon bone falchions.
Gideon stops adventuring with the group, and every session Greg just shows up to say, "I'm crafting some more daggers," and then he's just kind of there. What are you doing, Greg? Well, Greg is Gideon
I'm not
is
doing anything
crafting
else.
more daggers. He just does that the whole time. What are you doing this round, Greg? I'm crafting more daggers. It'd be a way for me to take Gideon out of the game.
He's being too salty that the crit table is going away.
It's fine. Now only mazes will be trivializing combat.
Yeah.
I make a hole. I throw a fireball in the hole. Everything's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, those were zombies. They weren't.
All hail the full caster.
They weren't gonna
Yeah,
get.
just a couple more levels till he has access to Hungry Pit and it gets even worse.
Yep.
Cool.
Makes the Sarlacc pit. Nom 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 nom. All right.
I guess if I had a concern moving forward, I guess it would be, and this is coming from a lore nerd, I know that the people that don't like Pathfinder First Edition, from my understanding, it's either you don't like the math or you don't like the bloat, and I think the bloat is wonderful, and that's why I play Pathfinder, but there's so much left, like, unexplored and unsaid in terms of Pathfinder. Like, the Inner Sea World Guide is an amazing book. So, too, is the Pact Worlds Guide, because it's not just lore, there's mechanical stuff in there, too, for Starfinder, but, like, in First Edition, we never saw a guide to, like, Arcadia or Casmaron or, India is Vudra. That's it, yeah. And all these other places on the map. And I'm like, it kind of bums me out that we never got to see that. And I hope that moving forward, Paizo will give us more than, like, I know they're going to do the Inner Sea 10 years later based on the events of the adventure paths. Like, there'll be a new province in Cheliax, which is, Hell's Rebels, I think it is, the adventure path where that happens.
Oh.
There'll be, like, bad stuff will happen to Irison because of Reign of Winter. But I want to see more because there's so much more out there, and I really hope that moving forward we get to see it.
Sounds like more around the hearth fodder to me. Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. One
No,
of the
I'm gonna
things.
skip the lore episode if that's okay with you guys.
No, I liked. Oh, one of the things I have mixed feelings about is how they did handled the gods, or at least what I've seen of the gods so far. Domains seem good, seem okay, but then again, I'm also concerned about how they'll interact. Um, in Pathfinder First Edition, you could go into a level of cleric and never have anything to do. One of the things I like is that you actually have anathema. You have mechanic, not just oh they like this, but actual rules like a code, because whether people like rules or not as people, if they're playing a character that's serving a deity, they're going to need to know what that deity wants, what they expect. So if they incorporate things like they did for the exalted boons and stuff like that, and just make them part of the game to start off with, it really adds a lot of flavor, a lot of role play, like Shaylin's, like when they were talking about Shaylin, and Shaylin probably is going to have a larger role based on about how much they're talking about her, because they haven't mentioned anything about Sarenrae that I've seen, or very little, but they've talked at least twice now about Shaylin. So like they cannot willingly destroy a piece of art, and it really is gonna. It's kind of vague, but it's really a heavy, flavorful piece for a cleric of Shaylin. In Pathfinder 1E, I could have just said, well, I'm a cleric of Shaylin, and then it not mattered as much. It would have been on the GM or on the player themselves to say, oh, that priceless piece of art in the corner of the big baddie's lair, we have to save that. Would they take a fireball to try and protect that piece of art? You know, maybe.
Well, in the meta, probably not, but they should.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, almost all of my characters, not Necross, his charisma is 6, it's not salvageable, but a lot of my characters will double dip Paladin because that's charisma to your saves, and that helps you, like, not just survive, but prevail in Pathfinder First Edition. And a lot of times, either one of two things will happen. Either, okay, I'm a Paladin of so-and-so. He never comes up in game. Or, I'm a Paladin of so-and-so, and now my GM's going to make me walk the line for having my charisma to saves. Now there's, like, a strict rule for, like, if you do this, you lose that. And that, like, it brings the parties together. As much as, like, in second edition, if I can do that and buff my saves, I will do so. But now there's, like, rules behind it. They can't be just like I've had GMs come in just like, oh, you did this, that's bad, fall from grace, and it sucks, frankly.
Yep. Well, I mean,
But
there's
I've also had GMs that like, oh, you double dip Paladin, neat, here's the fight.
Yep. Well, there's, like you're talking about with paladins. Paladins are my favorite class because I like the knight in shining armor type of, I don't know, motif. Even though I haven't played it as much, I try to make a point to play a different class when I play. But paladins, if you think paladins are OP right now, a situation may come up in second edition, because paladins, if they still get their charisma to saves and stuff like that, and resonance that runs off of charisma, that's gonna be influential, to say the least. So there is a concern there that paladins will become literally OP, not just in cases OP, but actually OP. They may be able to try and buffer that with some of the codes and creeds where paladins, and this is one of my things with paladins, is I think paladins should be lawful good. If you're not going to have to be lawful good, call them something else. But even if so, that's some of these paladin codes. Like, you can have a paladin of Sarenrae in first edition Pathfinder that is part of the cult of the Dawnflower, and they're much closer to Iomedae than they are, as far as mercy, than they are to Sarenrae. And not because I don't say that because Tommy's kind of homebrewing a few things that are happening in Lordly Caliber about what's going on with the Paladin,
Yeah.
with stuff there. Because I was like, oh, no, what is
Kenny,
going
you caught
on?
up?
Yeah.
I started watching it and then I had to leave for I can't remember what, but I'm like a half an hour into the episode I missed. I know that we're underground and I took my apprentice with me and Silas is also there. That's about it.
Fair enough. Got it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
it's getting real hairy in Lordly Caliber.
Yeah, you guys need to watch that. If you're not watching that, viewers, watch Lordly Caliber over on Black Dragon Gaming. Especially because it was when I was
Maybe
watching
give it to like
that-
session 8 though. Start at like 8 because the quality was bad.
I try.
The lag between Tommy and Adam is great enough that you guys just started talking over each other and I couldn't understand any of it.
Oh,
Well, what I
this-
said was wait till session 8 to start watching Lordly Caliber because the quality's like rough the first 2 or 3 because we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
We're just pressing buttons, hoping for the best, and a lot of times it wasn't the best.
Well, I bring
I
up
wasn't there.
I bring
You
up
were
what
not.
was going on in Lordly Caliber because, like if Hazaha was there, I as a person was like, that's not how it works. What's going on here? They can't do that. That's not Sarenrae. What are you? And I was like, wait. That's Hazaha. What's going on here? Me as the character, me as the person wanted to figure it out. But Hazaha would have been like incensed with what was going on and their claims to be Sarenites when what they were doing was unmerciful. Even the cult of the Dawnflower shows a quick death. Da, 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 da. And it's like, So Hazaha was upset.
You got to bring him back, dude. The spot's open.
Yeah, I know. I probably need to go ahead and bring him back.
It'd be cool.
Shift up some of my other schedules.
Well, just kill Lucia. Just
Kill-
character.
Well, there's a whole thing going on with the
While
bone
we're in the
ship.
Underdark, the Ratlet shows up. It's a bad time for everyone.
Everyone who except Hazaha, who has upped his saves and who has maxed out his defenses. That's his kind of character thing. But all right, well, that's,
And he actually knows where he's going.
yeah, he actually.
Yeah, I
leads
suppose he
in the
would
Underdark.
as a
Munavri.
As a Munavri.
Manavri. I wanted to call him a Venarin, but that's not right at all.
As a monkey, you know
As a monkey,
caves.
you are well versed in being underground.
All right, so I think that's all of our well, not all of them. I'm sure we'll think of more, but those are some of our likes, some of our concerns, and I don't think any of us have anything in kind of that we like this, we concerned about this, and then we hate this. I don't think any of us have any of that because we haven't really got to the series, unless I'm misunderstanding some
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah, I don't think I hate anything so far. Really, like, you got to get your hands on it first, I think, before you can say definitive, like, I hate this. I've seen a lot of people on my channel be like, this sucks, this is terrible, blah, 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 it's a nerf. And, like, you can't really call it a nerf because it's a whole new system. It's like saying, like, your freezer is bad because it won't, like, keep food at refrigerator temperature when we're talking about refrigerators, actually. That kind of thing. It's... Everything seems good so far. Everything
My
seems...
yogurt's solid. This is garbage.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was kind of an odd example, but it works. It works.
It's like... It does, it really does. 'Cause that's what I've seen because I put out so much content on my channel about 2nd edition. It's like people will come and they will make poop on my channel and then I will make them go away. But that's the only negativity I've seen so far. It all seems, again, like we're taking house rules and we're making them canon. It's not a nerf so much as it's a balance. And I guess my only real complaint is like it feels like there's stuff in 1st edition that's left undone. That like we have a whole nother edition worth of lore and worth of like races and stuff to dive into there. I guess I'm kind of sad that it was the alchemist that made the cut as the core class. I'm not, because alchemy is important and stuff. But
Don't diss on Kane's
they talked
favorite
about how it
class
could have
now.
been the witch, and I think it would have been sweet if it was the witch.
Yeah.
All indie.
I just wish it was the Magus, I guess, because I think the Magus is really iconic too. But I get that they did Alchemist because, like, they wanted to make alchemy its own independent thing in second edition, which I think is sweet.
I think that's actually
Yeah,
something
I will say
that
it
they
sounds
did.
like the alchemist's potions are gonna take up resonance too, and that could potentially take up a lot of resonance.
Yeah,
So we'll see what
I
happens.
don't know
with
that it'll take up resonance for the alchemist, though. I think when he
it
gives
takes up
his stuff
resonance
away,
for the man who drinks it.
Yeah.
And I get why they did that, because you watch all the blogs and stuff, and one of the things Eric Mona hated the most about Pathfinder First Edition was the Wand of Cure Light Wounds, and how you just, like, when you felt bad, you would hug it, and then you would feel better. One of my favorite, like, we talk about the Shocking Grasp Magus a lot on my channel, because that's one of my favorite exploits with Magical Lineage. It's followed very closely by Cure Light Wounds for that same reason. And I think, like, because resonance will limit how many potions you can drink and stuff like that, we're taking a step back towards the, like, I need a, like, tank. It probably doesn't work that way because it can't, because it's not World of Warcraft, but a tank and then a couple of DPS guys. I'm like, you have to have that healer, because at low levels with no resonance, it's a really deadly game.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping.
It's definitely there's going to be a little bit of, I think either in the high end or in the low end, there's still going to be those lingering aspects of rocket tag that are sort of prevalent through every Dungeons and Dragons adjacent edition of tabletop games.
What exactly does that mean? I've heard it a
tag,
lot.
Rocket tag refers to a situation where both sides do so much damage so quickly that whoever either wins the initiative or initially gains control of the action economy wins.
Yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough. I can
it's
agree
like
with that.
So if
Matt,
we're playing tag and you have a rocket launcher and I have a rocket launcher, whoever gets hit by a fucking rocket first dies.
yeah,
Yeah, fair enough.
it's very much a mad situation, mutually assured destruction. You're both wielding nukes in the sense of power, and it's just whoever gets theirs there first.
Yeah.
I do think that I think that part of the reason that they went ahead and did it with the alchemist was because the alchemist plays very much into the themes and the ideas of science becoming a thing along with magic, which is something that builds into Starfinder. And I'm interested to see how they do that. I know that I like that part anyway, and I like it because
There's a big
science
part
and
of me
magic
that thinks
different.
that there's a big part of me. Too much lag on this chat. There's a big part of me that thinks the culmination of Doomsday Dawn will be the formation of the Gap. I'm not, like, I can't quote that. I have no idea. I could be just dead wrong. But I think that's what we're gonna see at the end of Doomsday Dawn, as Galarion gets put in its special place far, far away, so
Well,
it can be saved forever, and then we get star travel in Starfighter.
That could be a really neat like it would be very Tarantino-esque where you show the end and then you have to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, they have
like,
done
here's
that.
the playtest for this brand new, edition of this game we've made. Here's the end of the world.
That's Doomsday Dawn, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least we all still feel fine. So, with I don't know that they'll
Yeah.
do that because based on the way the lore reads, it reads like Starfinder takes place after everybody on Galarian knew about space travel and had built a station. Now, if for some way Bry made the station so that everybody could survive there, that's kind of weird and odd. So I don't think that they'll do it that way, but I may be wrong. Maybe they want a plot hole in their system, which
Yeah, I'm probably reaching really hard.
so. But with the lore the way it is, I'm not sure that's how they'll go. But it would be interesting to see how they decided to try and pull that off, considering, well, it would be cool if the Aslanti Star Empire actually appeared outside there, because spaceships have crash landed there before on Galarian, so they could run it that way. I could see how they could fill that plot hole that way. But I don't know.
Yeah, we need some more lore about the Iron Mountain or the Silver Mount.
There you go. All right, we're at about 50 minutes.
Iron Gods.
Yeah, we're at about 50 minutes. So let's go ahead and any closing thoughts from you, Tommy?
From me, Tommy. I think I pretty much said everything I need to say. We haven't said that shields are great. I'm going to say now that shields are great. I never ever ever want to take a shield in first edition because I feel like I'm screwing over the party because I don't have that offhand that's 18 to 20 and I'm not just you're dead. But in second edition they're super valid, they're super good. And that's really exciting for me. Really the whole thing is like I'm super stoked for a second edition to come out because nothing has been spoiled thus far that's just like, well, that sucks. Resonance was a bit of a like, okay, but belts of physical perfection, but so I need to be stronger. But I get why not, and I think even that in the meta won't be that bad. So really, again, all in all, like I'm super stoked. August can't get here fast enough.
Yeah.
Well, I think they've simplified down a lot of the math, so you're not going to necessarily need all of that extra bonus.
Yeah.
It's not about what you need, Kane. It's about what you want.
Well, yeah, I mean that's true. You could just play a wizard. You'd never need a headband of mental perfection, but like you want one real bad.
Oh, you do.
What about you, Kane? Any final thoughts from you?
I'm gonna hold all my hard opinions on second edition Pathfinder until I've actually gotten a chance to play it. Because right now I feel like if I take a hard stance on how I feel about it, and it turns out that it's not the way that I think it is, I'm screaming into the void that I'm an ass.
Yeah.
Which I mean is something everyone already knows, but I don't need to tell everyone that myself.
You don't need video evidence, except, well, I mean, we've already got Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
We already got Rise of the Rune Lords and Lordly Caliber, and now
Lord of the
House
Rings.
Divided. Yeah, I said Lord of the Rings. Don't judge me. Don't judge me.
And there are lords too, probably in the House Divided. There's a lot of lords going around, and we are none of them.
Nope, we suck. We're playing Gestalt characters, and we still can't do anything. It's real bad.
I did
give
find
it,
that
like,
quite
4
hilarious.
levels. Will be amazing. It'll be great.
Give you 6 levels, and you're flurrying with whatever weapon you want to.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, no, and the one thing I say that I'm kind of excited to see about how shields work since you brought it up was how like a bodyguard build would work in second edition, because now if you want to be a bodyguard, you're a halfling cavalier, like that's just you are, because that makes you're a better bodyguard than anybody else.
Yeah.
There
is that feat that fighters can take that let them like you can use your shield bonus for the guy next to you. So I think it's gonna be super sweet to have like Phalanx Fighter exists as a class or as an archetype in Pathfinder 1e, and Joe and I have had it in our heads that one of these days we're gonna play Phalanx Fighters together and just form the shield wall.
Yeah,
if I can do that in Pathfinder 2nd edition to just anybody, that sounds really strong.
Mm-hmm. But I like it because the backup. The reason I don't like it is because right now, if you want like just the standard bodyguard build where you take combat reflexes, bodyguard in harm's way, like all those feats, to just boost your friend's AC as quickly as possible, you're going to take a halfling, you're going to get helpful because it's +4 from +2. You're going to be an Order of the Dragon, I think it is, which your challenge just boosts your aid and other checks. And then I think there's like some magic items probably that I guess anybody could get, but you're going to be so much better at it as this specific race with this specific trait with this specific class that does this specific thing. And I feel like that's kind of like, it's weird that you can't play a fighter or a barbarian or a anything else that's as good at bodyguarding things as this one specific thing that isn't even necessarily built to do that. It's just a weird confluence of ability scores.
Yeah.
I agree, and that actually brings up
But yeah, I'm interested with how much better. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, that actually brings up something that I forgot that I wanted to bring up. So for part of my final thoughts was going to be antagonized builds. because antagonize just doesn't
Mm.
work that well. If I hope that it's a lot closer to something that I don't want to see necessarily MMO style stuff, like with an actual taunt where they cannot attack anybody but you, but rather where antagonize is actually worth doing or building around. If you really want to play that type of archetype, you really want to play someone who's overprotective of the rest of the group and stuff, because and going into your thing like a bodyguard type individual, especially if you build it around, like, you get to play with your scores and you build your protector for your little caster and you guys are buddies, and I get to incorporate my homebrew Master Blaster feat so that you guys can have antagonize going on and stuff like that. But that's just me. So
Yeah, couple of levels, Tommy. We're just gonna shrink Randy down and stick him on your shoulder.
It'll be great. And I'll take the Mount Evolution, and there'll be no penalties. And I can use all the Soha stuff, so I get like your spell resistance, and I get your move speed.
We run bot of town.
you guys don't become gods in your Gestalt game until like level 4 or 5, which is effectively level 10 with your players. But
yeah, well, I mean, kinda. Well, because I had at level 6 is like a monk archetype that can flurry with weapons at the cost of being able to do it with their fists.
Oh, gotcha.
And you're playing it with the fighter, and it's anything you have weapon training in. So you take weapon training with whatever with the High Guardian at 6th level, you gain the ability to flurry with it. So that's great swords, that's butchering axes. I'm pretty set on the fact that we need to get you like an adamantine, like Bierstein, and then you take improvised weapons, and then your next weapon training is you do War Priest damage with like a given weapon that you already have, and you choose the Bierstein, and and it'll be great. People will die.
I don't know. Well, how good is the Caden Kaleen's divine fighting style? You keep a mug in your offhand, and you can treat it as a light mace.
I have no idea. I don't know a whole lot about double C, or even really the divine fighting techniques, to tell you the truth. Torog lets you Vital Strike on attacks of opportunity. Gorham lets you Vital Strike on a charge.
I like Torag.
Double
Desna
C
lets you attack with your charisma, which is ridiculous.
You can wield a tankard or mug as a weapon, treating it in all ways as a light mace appropriate for your size. If you engage in two fighting with a rapier or light weapon in one hand and tankard in the other, you can drink a potion or other liquid from the tankard, or attempt to toss liquid from the tankard as a dirty trick. The advanced is you can refill your tankard with a beverage, potion, blah 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 as a swift action. It's kind of not that good.
All right.
Real flavorful, not amazing.
Yeah.
But all of that said, I think we've said what we want to say this time about 2nd edition Pathfinder, at least for the playtest. If you guys are interested in Pathfinder and stuff like that, be sure to get involved in the playtest, at least participate in some games about it and send some feedback, because that's how the game systems get better. That's why 5e is so loved, because they playtested the dog out of it for a while. So let's hope Pathfinder gets plenty of playtesting as well. I think that's everything, though. We'll continue our Pathfinder 2nd edition prep. We hope you do too. As always, have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Somebody's gotta give him. Where the hell is Donald? We didn't even hear from Donald all day.
This content was made possible by the generous support of patrons and travelers like you. Thank you.